third speaker from Waukesha South. That's got to be a record, right? There was a poem I read first semester of my senior year in my English literature class that I still occasionally think about. The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. If you haven't read it or don't quite understand it, no need to fret. Initially, neither did I. However, after a further reading, I believe the last 3 lines summarize the poem perfectly. 2 roads diverge in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. If given the chance, my dad would have loved to read the same poem. As a fan of literature, he avidly reads a Spanish Bible every opportunity he gets. However, by most conventional standards, he's considered illiterate, as he knows very minimal English. Being the oldest of a large poor family, he dropped out of school in the 3rd grade from his hometown of Guanajuato, Mexico, and was determined to find work to support his family. My mother, on the other hand, while she definitely prefers math over literature, had a similar upbringing. Although she was fortunate enough to have a high school equivalent education, she was still a low-skilled, broken English-speaking immigrant from a small town near Mexico City. Now, before I continue, I have to say that I'm definitely not ashamed of how I was raised or my upbringing. Nor do I wish I would have been dealt a different set of cards to work with. Anyone that has been raised by loving but uneducated immigrant parents can agree that although you grow up quickly and with fewer resources, you do have an advantage as you learn to grow up quickly. The value of $1, for instance, or self-discipline from long hours of studying. And probably the one that I learned the hard way, whatever your mom says, it goes. I think she's crying. Oh no. There was, however, a large elephant in the room. While I was eager to pull myself up by my bootstraps, the cards were definitely not in my favor. As far as my background was concerned, I was merely part of a statistic that was destined to fail, or at the very least, be outperformed by my more privileged peers. At best, I'll be lucky enough to graduate high school and work a low-skilled job. At worst, who knows? One thing was for certain, however. This was certainly not the path, not the road I wanted to take in my life. On a lighter note, my AVID path had a bit of a unique start compared to my peers. Before I had my AVID interview, or even knew what AVID stood for, I already had a sea of Cornell note worksheets covering my living room floor and cracks on the dining room table from what else but a heavy 3-ring binder. And this was because my older sister was fortunate enough to be part of the very first AVID class of Waukesha South in 2012. First going to the University of Wisconsin-Madison for undergrad, then a graduate program at UC Berkeley, later another graduate program at Indiana University, and now she is currently a medical student at Indiana University. There was certainly a lot to live up to. And if I'm being completely honest, I was scared. Better yet, terrified that I wasn't going to be able to live up to the hype and let down my parents. Although my sister was very vocal about the extra work that came with an AVID elective, she made it clear that nothing worth having was going to come easy. And AVID was certainly no exception. Having someone who already lived through the AVID program not only set me up with higher expectations for myself, but gave me the courage to dream big and take intellectual risk. The first day of AVID, almost everyone had the same objective. And honest question, for those of you that teach high school freshmen, let me know if this sounds familiar. Don't draw any attention to yourself, keep to yourself, and just try and make it through the first day. Does that sound about right? Okay, glad to know it wasn't just my class. While at first we settled into our usual cliques of people we were already comfortable with, that quickly changed when we were forced to get out of our comfort zone, learning to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Playing The Great Wind Blows, for instance, philosophical chairs, and of course, the infamous tutorial request forms, TRFs, which I'm still recovering from. As a class, we faced many hardships that no student should ever go through. A global pandemic, an active shooter incident, and not having a class microwave for 3 years. Whatever the world threw at us, our class only grew closer together. We were no longer trying to stay under the radar, but trying to develop meaningful connections. We were no longer trying to keep to ourselves, but willing to learn each other's stories. We were no longer trying to survive the first day, but dreading the last. While yes, at times, I will admit, our AVID class was a little too focused on texting instead of filling out TRFs, or wrestling each other when Mr. Getch wasn't watching instead of using wicker strategies. We all have people to make proud, cynics to prove wrong, and more importantly, dreams to turn into reality. From future collegiate athletes to 30-plus ACT scorers, there really was no dream that wasn't accomplished after collaboration with self-motivated AVID peers, inspiring conversations with AVID faculty, and again, as much as I hate to admit it, a few dozen well-made TRFs. Because of AVID, we believe the critics will be just as easily forgotten as our small setbacks towards greatness. Because of AVID, we are ready to take that uncharted road of being the first to graduate high school or be the first to go to college, as described by Robert Frost. Because we know there has never been a better time to try to achieve our goals than now. There are still a billion things in this world still left unsaid, undiscovered, and unfinished. Our unique talents and passions that we refine during our time in AVID are bound to lead us to at least one of those billion things. Because of AVID, I am a first-generation student from a Spanish-speaking, low-income household that will be receiving $80,000 a year to attend his dream school of Northwestern University in the fall. Lastly, if there's one piece of wisdom I took away from the AVID program, it is this: fear is not weakness. Because if your dreams don't scare you, then you're simply not dreaming big enough. Whether you're low income, first gen, part of an underrepresented group, whatever the case may be, I don't care. Someone has to be the first to travel down that uncharted road. Why can't it be you? Additionally, if you do manage to become the first, you'll surely inspire a plethora of people just like you, and you surely won't be the last. Thank you for having me.